was so weird. I have no idea what happened. Sorry about that. We'll see. There's anyone. I have not been having, maybe I'm not supposed to be live today. I've not been having good luck with my lives today. It's just not been a good day for that. I tried to do one earlier when I was at the park. So I was like, oh, it's a holiday. It'll be fun to do a live while I'm at the park. That lasted about 2 minutes because it was freezing. And then I don't know what happened. The last one, we just went dark. So welcome back if you came back, or welcome if you're new. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Oh, hello. Is this one better? I don't know what happened. I noticed all of a sudden I was talking and I was on a roll, and then I looked up and there was like 2 people like still there. I was like, where did everybody go? The Matrix. That's so funny. But I was saying that was my second time I tried to go live today. No, the first time nothing bad happened. I tried to do it when I was hiking because I thought that would be cool. And hello. That's what we're talking about. The Delta plane. That's what we were talking about. Yes. Okay. Okay, we're at about 2 minutes, so I can start. That's what I wanted to talk about. We were talking about the 2 big news stories of today are this Delta plane that just crashed, and also our troops are going to be able to fight cartels. So that's what we'll talk about. But first, let's do the plane crash. And I do apologize in advance because information is coming out. This literally just happened. This is very breaking. So information is coming out as we're talking. So we might find out more things as we go together. And I am on my phone as well. So I apologize for the kind of old school low technology. I'll try to show you some of these videos on my computer, but we can't hear all of them. And this is what happened. The plane crash in Toronto. Also, if we do get trolls, my lives get promoted out to people. So that does mean I might have a few more trolls than normal. If you do see them, just don't pay attention to them. If I see them, I'll try to whack a troll, is what I say, by just removing them. But don't worry, they don't bother me, so don't let them bother you. I just get rid of them if I do see them. Like this one right here. Boop, bye-bye. And that's how I roll. Okay, and this one too. Bye-bye. All right. And what happened with this plane crash in Toronto? A plane was going from Minneapolis to Toronto. So from Minneapolis to Toronto, it was a passenger commercial plane carrying about 80 passengers coming. It was a Delta plane. Delta passenger commercial plane landed in Toronto, and I believe it was the icy weather and high, it was about 70-mile-per-hour winds. It caused the plane upon landing to go upside down. And they said 8 people were injured and 1 is critically injured. But fortunately, there was no fire or anything like that. The plane was literally just upside down. Smoke, a little bit of smoke coming from one section of the plane. Everyone was able to walk off the plane, but there is a woman in critical condition right now. And that's what we know so far. So I still want to figure out exactly what happened. And we do have a little bit of footage to look at as well. Okay, I'll turn the computer around and show you this one. This one I know, right? No more planes. They're all just falling out of the sky. You know what's scary? I live really close to an airport, and I always worry about that. Like every time you hear a plane getting close to land to your home, you're like, please don't fall out of the sky. Just stay in the sky, because sometimes they sound really, really loud. We just went down again. Hopefully the same thing isn't happening. Oh, hold on, I'm just holding. All right, hope 5 is still good. You're good. That doesn't happen at random. Okay, cool. It's the D-high. Okay, this is a video. Sorry for the old school technology turning my computer around, but I happen to be on my phone right now doing the live, so I apologize about that. But this was recorded by someone in the plane. Remember I told you everyone pretty much walked out, but they were upside down, so I guess what held them in their seats was their seatbelts. I'm just trying to make sure the glare. I know my fingerprints. Don't even act like your computer screen isn't dirty too. So that's what the plane looked like. Just totally upside down. That was her?
I was just in a plane crash. Oh my God.
You know what I've noticed about a lot of these plane crashes? How they're happening? Let me know if you agree with this. What I have noticed is that they're happening in all of the most recent plane crashes. They're happening in ways that I didn't know it was possible for a plane to crash in. Like just running into each other, like that's not something you see. Flipping over on the runway. Again, if you think about DC, they were 20 minutes from being on the ground. And that's around the time you're like, okay, I'm good. If anything was going to happen, it already happened. I'm pretty good now. So you're thinking you're in the clear. The same with once you're on the ground, you're like, okay, I'm all good now. You're not thinking, oh, now I can flip over. So I want to know what exactly happened. Someone mentioned a wing. All right, let's see if there's any updates.
Underscore to pick up. I did want to, underscore to pick up on the conversation you were just having, though, in terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom. This is going to yet again raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border. And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions, especially air traffic control. I was having a conversation with somebody today about whether air traffic control in America is being affected by the staff cuts. So far, not to their knowledge, and yet other positions related to maintaining critical equipment appear to have been cut. So this is going to feed into all of these recent incidents, and the safety of the total air traffic system is going to be very much a part of the conversation as we go forward, at least on this side of the country, of the border, I should say.
Gross. Sorry. Someone asked, why did I decide to become political? Well, I decided to become political. I don't know. It was a sense of urgency, I guess. I What's interesting is I in 2016 I didn't even vote at all. So and if I would have voted in that election, I would have voted for Hillary if I would have. I didn't vote at all. Um and at that time I wasn't interested in politics. I was living in Los Angeles and auditioning for a lot of acting jobs. So I didn't care about politics. But I did vote for Obama his second term, and I was really excited about him and all of this stuff. But I feel like during his second term, I just got really disappointed in him, and I don't know. I felt like, and his campaign, if you remember, it was all about change. It was, we're gonna do and make the change and be the change, all of that. But nothing happened under him. Actually, it kind of felt like everything got worse under him. So I just, at that point in time, I realized, or I felt, I was like, it doesn't really matter who you vote for. It's all the same. I think that's when my little spidey sense started realizing we're ruled under a uniparty. I didn't have the language or the knowledge at the time to be able to pinpoint what my gut was telling me, but my gut was like, it's just a uniparty. They're all the same. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, or if it's someone who's like, we're all about the change. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're just all the same. And it's all smoke and mirrors because they're just doing what they need to do to get your vote. And then they're loyal to who they need to be loyal to once they're in office. So that's how I felt. And that's why, like, I just was minding my own business. I didn't even care about politics. Actually, when I first started my YouTube channel, I think it was like 2016 or 15, it had nothing to do with politics at all. It was just like silly videos. And what happened was this, though. What happened was during the election, I saw, like, I thought Trump was really silly. I thought, oh my gosh, he's a clown. How can anyone take this guy seriously? What a clown. Because I was just watching clips on CNN. So I was just watching their little propaganda clips that made him look like a clown. And he does sound funny sometimes because he's a funny guy and he doesn't talk he doesn't talk politically correct or anything like that. He talks like a regular person, which we're not used to seeing in politics. So it is easy to make him sound kind of clownish if you pull his clips out of context. But I don't know, seeing him win and hearing why people voted for him, also at the same time, living in Los Angeles, and seeing how my neighborhood was changing. So I was seeing simultaneously in real time the truth behind my local politics and how that was affecting me living in California under Gavin Newsom, in real time. When I say that, I mean, like, I would start to notice, like, oh, I used to be able to take a shortcut down that alleyway. Now I can't do that anymore because I don't feel safe. Like, I was noticing my neighborhood changing right before my eyes. And not only that, I was really curious as to how Trump won the election. I was like, what did I not see? My curiosity was getting the best of me. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized how much the media was lying. So one of the very first thing was the kids in the cages. I was like, oh my gosh, kids in cages. This is horrible. Like, who's putting the kids in the cages? Like, oh my gosh. And so I looked it up. I was just curious. I wanted to know the truth. And then I realized, like, oh, that started under Obama. And the picture that they were using in the media at the time were pictures that were taken in 2014 under Obama. And then I was listening to Glenn Beck, and there was another journalist, and they were saying that they were on the border during Obama and they saw the kids in the cages and they were trying to get this story out to everyone and no one would take the story. all of a sudden Trump's the president and they're like, oh my gosh, the kids in the cages. So I was like, okay, the media was not honest about that. And then the Charlottesville, the good people on the both sides, they said that Trump, it was this, white supremacist rally, and Trump was dog whistling. I don't know. They said all this stuff, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, really? That sounds horrible. And instead of just like judging what they said and listening to what they said, I wanted to investigate it myself. So that's what I did. And when I investigated it myself, I realized, oh no, that's actually not what he said in the speech. It was actually a really good speech. So I didn't just listen to the out of context clips that the media gave me. I went and would pursue the whole speech. And I don't know, I have the type of personality that when I see something, I have to say something. So I was seeing all of this stuff and I just felt that I wanted to say something. And one of the reasons I felt a sense of urgency to say something is because I actually noticed that the world around me was changing. And I didn't agree with the policies that were being used to change that. And I could see things that I felt were dishonest tactics used to make those changes. Am I Amish? No, I'm not Amish. I'm going to guess you're a troll, but I want to answer that because I do have family. My mom is from Pennsylvania. So I have my extended family is in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania has Lancaster County, right? Yeah, they have a lot of Amish. So I'm very familiar with the Amish, and I love the Amish, and I love driving through Lancaster. So you're saying you like Trump? Yes, I like Trump. Oh, and in 2020 I voted for Trump, and in 2024 I voted for Trump. But yeah, he just grew on me, and when you look into him, you realize he really does love the country. Oh, so the election happened. I was interested in what people liked about him, and I started seeing the dishonesties, and then I started just kind of paying attention to him and watching him, and I realized, wow, his policies really are people first and America first, and he really does seem like he cares about the people. Also, one of my favorite things about Trump, this is what I tell people all the time, and I think it's so funny because a lot of a lot of liberals, they always try to bash like Elon Musk and Trump because they're billionaires. Oh, they're billionaires. They blah blah blah. They're just so rich. They're just in it for themselves. They're just rich men that are just rich and in it. That whole like thing that they have, they always try to bash them because of the amount of wealth that they have. But what I say back to them, I'm like, that's actually one of my favorite things about them is because they can't be bought. First of all, neither of those men take a salary. Trump did not take a salary during his first administration, and he does not take a salary during this administration. He donates the president of the United States makes $400,000 a year, and Trump donates the entire salary back into the government. Like, he'll split it up. For instance, like, he'll donate $100,000 to Parks and Rec or this or that. That's what he does. So he doesn't take money. In fact, I think you could probably argue that he's lost money by taking the presidency. Elon Musk, same thing. He's not making any money doing what he's doing. Instead, one of the things he's making is a lot of enemies. It's causing people to want to go after him all the time, even jeopardizing his safety. And he's making no money. Let me ask you a question. What motivates all of the corruption in DC? Like, most in all of the corruption, it's money and power, right? But what motivates power a lot of times is money. So you could argue money is what motivates most, if not all, of the corruption in Washington, D.C. And guess what's not motivating Trump or Elon Musk? Money. So you take that motivation out of the equation. I mean, I don't know about you, but I like that. So I don't mind that they're billionaires, bazillionaires, trillionaires, whatever they are. I would much rather that, because if you're taking that motivation of money out of the equation, you just cut most, if not all, of the corruption out. That's what corrupts a lot of these people. Your voice sounds like Bernadette from Big Bang Theory. I get that a lot. You sound naive. If they're not in it for the money, then how do you explain that they don't take a salary, and they especially Trump, who has lost money? Hi, Sir T. Yes, this is live. Wait, but I want to see, but I didn't even mean to go into that. I want to see what's going on with the plane crash. I did not mean to go into that at all. Okay. All right, I'm just looking for a crash update. How are there not? All right, I'm finding it. Another plane crash. Well, yeah, it was Toronto. All right, latest. I'm looking for an update. Yeah, Toronto Airport. Upon landing, this plane went upside down. Delta flight from Minneapolis to Toronto. 80 people on board. Everyone survived. There's 8 people injured, 1 critically. Praying for all those involved in the crash at Toronto Pearson International Airport this afternoon's Delta Airlines Flight 4819 arriving from Minneapolis carrying 80 passengers. We pray that, they're saying 15. We pray the 15 injured will receive the care they need to fully recover. I'm not positive about that number, so be careful with that.
Find the CBC's Greg Ross out. Now let's go directly back to Pearson International Airport. That's where we find the CBC's Greg Ross outside. Greg, what can you tell us about the situation from where you see it?
Well, we're getting pieces of information from many different sources. Peel Regional Police telling us some information about this flight. Pearson Airport also telling us a little bit of information. We know that this was a Delta flight, 80 passengers on board, and somehow it crashed while landing. We know that there were only 8 people of the 80 passengers that were injured. We're told that 3 of them are critical. 3 people had to be airlifted from this scene to hospital, and we're told that one of those injured that was injured critically is a child. In terms of what's happening here on the scene, we can get a little bit of a look at the runway, where you can see there are several emergency vehicles that are on the runway and surrounding what
Hi, Glenn. I'm back.
appears to be the the body of this airplane. We're told that somehow it lost both of its wings. We're told there was a fire of some sort.
It lost both of its wings? Duke, a recently made Boeing? Wait, was it? They haven't said what type of flight. Well, it's a Delta flight. I heard the flight number somewhere, but I haven't seen exactly what type of flight it is. It lost both of his wings and okay, hold on. I just backtracked. Hold on.
The runway and surrounding what appears to be the body of this airplane. We're told that somehow it lost both of its wings. We're told there was a fire of some sort on board this aircraft as well. And that's about all we know about what happened. We don't know how this plane crashed. We don't know why this plane crashed. We don't know if it was weather related, but I can tell you here at Pearson Airport, there is still plenty of snow, plenty of blowing snow, which sometimes can create problems on the runway. It's a windy, cold day out here. And again, we're still waiting for information from Pearson Airport and from Peel Police to.
Okay, if it lost both of its wings, that would make sense as to how it ended up upside down, right? They mentioned it had 70-mile-per-hour winds.
To get the latest on what's happening here on this scene.
So that's interesting. That's new to us, Greg. You're getting information that both wings from the plane might be gone. We had initially, looking at the video, thought one of them was gone, but it sounds like what Greg is telling us is potentially two from the information he's receiving. Greg, what do we know about the people who were on board who were injured?
Yeah, again, we're just getting pieces of information. 8 people were injured. We're told that 5 of the people that were injured suffered just minor injuries, and they're going to be okay. Apparently, Pearson Airport has set up a triage center somewhere here in the airport to deal with all of the passengers on board this plane. But again, 3 of these passengers critically injured had to be airlifted from this scene to hospital. We're told that one of those that was critically injured was a child as well. So again, we're just getting pieces of information as they come into us, but that's the latest we have from here on the scene.
All right, that's Greg Ross at Pearson Airport in Mississauga. Thank you very much, Greg. We'll be.
Lost and Broken said, I'm not an aerospace physician. Physician. I'm not an aerospace physicist, but I believe wings are kind of important. I think, I'm not I'm no expert in these things either, but I believe they might matter a tidbit, just a little bit. All right. Glenn says they need to limit flights for a while so planes can get inspected. Aloha, Hawaii. What about the hiring of non-qualified pilots? That's one of the reasons why Trump wanted to look at a lot of these things. They were not prioritizing merit. All right, okay, speaking of that, here's a story for you. Delta Airlines reaffirmed, so this was a Delta Airlines flight. All right, so it says Delta Airlines reaffirmed its commitment to DEI initiatives before Toronto crash, part of our focus. Delta Airlines stood fast in its commitment to continuing its diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts ahead of the Toronto crash, even as many major U.S. companies have rolled back their own programs in deference to new Trump administration policies. DEI is about talent, and that's been our focus. Delta Chief External Affairs Officer Peter Carter said on an earnings call last month, "We are steadfast in our commitment because we think we are actually critical. They are actually critical to our business," he said in response to a reporter's question about the Atlanta headquartered airline's plans around DEI. Remember, I told you I'm actually from Atlanta. So that was when I first started flying. I basically only flew Delta because their headquarters are in Atlanta. Atlanta Hartsfield Airport is a massive airport as well. Okay, President Trump signed an executive order last month lambasting the controversial practices, writing in part illegal DEI and DEIA policies not only violate text and spirit of our long-standing federal civil rights laws, they also undermined our national unity. On Monday, Delta Flight 4819 crashed upside down in Toronto at Toronto Pearson International Airport, injuring at least 9 passengers, 3 of them critically, including a child and a 60-year-old man. Toronto Pearson said in a post on X shortly after the crash that all passengers and crew members were accounted for, though it was not immediately clear whether there were any fatalities. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed 80 passengers and crew were on board. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I might have hid the wrong comment. That is wild. Okay, let me see. I'm going to read some of the comments on this New York Post. Someone said, "What? Okay, what's going on with Delta? I know my feelings with Delta, but it seems like that's like a known thing. A lot of people don't like Delta." Easy answer here for me, never fly Delta. I don't usually fly Delta, but now I will go out of my way not to fly them. Delta Shuttle is another company that uses Delta's name and is not as scrutinized. Okay. Someone else said it. LOL. Okay, so was the pilot DEI? Okay.
We just landed.
Okay, so we don't know what happened yet. I want to know what's going on with the... How did both wings come off? Is that what happened? Delta going, tips up, don't fly better, drive. Well, they were saying I was watching another person, and they were saying that's why, or I was watching like a news channel, and they were basically saying, they were like, this is why, and now I'll remember this because it just unlocked a brand new fear that I didn't think I had before, but now I have it. But they were, I think my house is haunted. They were saying, this is why you should never, like, you know how sometimes right when you land, as soon as you land, you're like, okay, my seatbelt is coming off, my phone's going on, like everything. They were saying this is probably why you don't want to take your seatbelt off right when you land, because those people that were injured, maybe their seatbelt wasn't on. You never know. Maybe they took it off, or so. Just saying. Plane crashed in Canada. I know that's what we're talking about. Delta's new slogan, we get you there. That was pretty good. Delta's new slogan, we get you there. You will get there. Like, I don't know how you're going to leave the plane. Good point. Sarah, I've seen you for years with blonde hair. Are you going back darker? Yeah, I just got tired of, I wanted to see what the natural color was. And this right here down to, that's all natural. Isn't that so cool? I just wanted to see what the natural was, and, you know. So, yeah, I think I'm just gonna hang with that for a while. No sound. What do you mean no sound? What about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Yes, there is sound. I don't know where that came from. Okay. All right. I think we have sound. I don't know why other people... Crossover is high. Crossover, are you high? I have sound and video. Okay, except for crossover, because allegedly... Okay, yes, I'm high, but I can't hear it. I think that's a you problem. Crossover, do you live in Denver? What's my name? My name is on the channel. It's Sarah Sansoni. Are you high too? Well, you should have looked before you asked. So, anywho, hold on. I was just playing, by the way. Okay, thanks. Well, don't play with me because I'm gonna be concerned that you really can't hear. Things happen all the time with the lives. You never know what's gonna happen. So if you do that, I'm gonna take you seriously. Anyway. Alright, what's going on with the plane crash, and then we'll move on to the cartel. Someone said crossovers from the 51st state. Oh, that was good. No sound guy. Oh, Nathan said you should focus on getting off Delta's plane first in Alaska, the one that just crashed, the one that's upside down. That's it. No, that was a good joke. You're a terrible listener, clearly, because you can't hear anything. Oh. I work at a weed store. Of course you do. You can't hear, but you're listening? That sounds like someone that's super... That sounds like something that someone that's super high would say. I can't hear, man, but I'm listening. It's like they say I can't hear, but I'm always listening. I don't hear, I listen. Turkey! Hello from Turkey. Hello from Algeria. Okay, there's no new cool news coming out about the plane crash, so... Hello, Ireland. Okay, this is actually very cool news. This is what I wanted to talk about. There's really... Sorry, that came out of nowhere. Alright, this is very cool news. So we are going to have more resources to fight the Mexican cartel. This is a story out of News Nation today at about 3 p.m. So that was just 2 hours ago. HUD got audited. Okay, we can look at that next. All right, El Paso, Texas. This is big. U.S. Special Forces are landing in Mexico to train Marine infantry, and this has to do with the cartel. A Mexican Senate commission has approved the entry of members of the U.S. Army's 7 Special Forces Group Airborne into the country starting this week. The Americans will come fully armed as a part of a mission to train the Mexican Navy's Infantería de Marina. The Mexican infantry. On conventional and non-conventional types of combat. Wait, is this what I was looking for? I'm sorry. Okay, so the news is the Mexican Senate has approved the entry of U.S. Special Forces to take on the cartels. So basically, I'm so sorry. That's why I wanted to double check that, because that's a little bit misleading. So this says the Mexican Senate just approved the entry of U.S. Special Forces to take on the cartels. Finally, Trump has designated the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. All right, so that is a little misleading. They're not directly taking on the Mexican cartel. They're going down to train. So, U.S. Army Green Berets training naval infantry Marines in Mexico. So they're going down to train in Mexico. A small group of U.S. Army Green Berets is in Mexico to train the country's naval infantry Marines. Their presence was requested by Mexico's president and approved by a Senate commission. So they're training Mexican armed forces to go after their cartel. The 7th Special Forces Group has extensive experience in Latin America and will focus on training Mexican forces to curb the flow of fentanyl and illegal firearms. Okay, so this is actually really good news. This means that our guys are going to go down and help Mexico fight against the flow of things in our country. So I think this is great news. This is a great thing. I did see leftist media. It's so funny when you're kind of in the middle, because you see like the dishonesty that the leftist media and the right-leaning media has. So the leftist media was saying, oh, now we're going to send American troops to Mexico to die. That's what the left is saying. I'm not even joking. Or at least I've seen 1 or 2 journalists say that. And then the right is saying, we're going to go down and fight the cartel. No, they're training Mexican forces with the knowledge that they have. So this is a specialized group with specialized knowledge in these cartels. So they're going down to train them on how to fight these guys, and this has benefit to the U.S. because they're going to be fighting people that are bringing fentanyl and smuggling people throughout the U.S. So this is awesome, actually. Very cool. Yeah, and it's really not even that big of a deal. It's 11 Green Berets from the Army 7th Specialty Forces Group will be in Mexico from February 17th. Yeah, so this isn't really a big deal. This is like, okay, we're sharing information, and yeah, that's all this is. 11 Green Berets are going down probably to, I don't know. Let's see, Special Forces Group will be in Mexico from February 17th through the end of March. The special operators arrived fully armed but will focus on training their Mexican counterparts. The 7th Special Forces Group is no stranger to working in Central and South America. Its motto is De Oppresso Liber, or Free the Oppressed. Oh, that's very cool. 7th Special Forces motto, Free the Oppressed. Green Berets from the 7th have taken part in operations in Panama, Peru, and Ecuador before, and armed U.S. troops have also trained with Mexican forces in the past. The presence of the Green Berets is garnering more attention this time around, especially after the former U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to impose tariffs on Mexico if the country didn't do more to curb the flow of fentanyl over the southern border. The Green Berets will also help train the Mexican forces on better ways to stop the illegal flow of guns from the U.S. into Mexico. In its mission to secure the southern border, the Trump administration also sought to classify Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This move could help free up more funds to combat the cartels and make additional resources like drones or other platforms available for gathering intelligence on cartel organizations. Cool. It also says intelligence operations. An alleged U.S. spy was spotted off the coast of Baja, California. What? Okay, I didn't know this. An alleged U.S. spy plane was spotted off the coast of Baja, California. Oh, U.S. spy plane. An alleged U.S. spy plane was spotted off the coast of Baja California earlier in February. The Mexican government stated there was no unauthorized incursion into its airspace, but did not explicitly deny that a U.S. plane was in the air gathering intelligence. If it was a U.S. plane, any intelligence it gathers would likely be shared with the Mexican government and its armed forces. This kind of data can help the 7th Special Forces tailor its training. Okay, that was a weird thing to add within the article, so all right. Oh no. Alright, I think that's everything for now, is it? Wait.
Though, in terms of the recent string, underscore.
Are they trying to blame Trump now for the crash in? Hold on. Sillies.
I did want to, underscore, to pick up on the conversation you were just having, though, in terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom. This is going to, yet again, raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border. And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions, especially air traffic control. I was having a conversation with somebody today about whether air traffic control in America is being affected by the staff cuts. So far, not to their knowledge, and yet other positions related to maintaining critical equipment appear to have been cut. So this is going to feed into all of these recent incidents, and the safety of the total air traffic system is going to be very much a part of the conversation as we go forward, at least on this side of the country, of the border, I should say.
Okay, I saw the NATO news stuff.
Product to millions.
They rely on TikTok to succeed.
I don't think I could have gotten this far if I didn't have that kind of community.
Small businesses thrive on TikTok.
We bring in NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Secretary General, very good to have you with us. You have just been in the middle of these meetings. We've seen some headlines. Thank you very much. We've seen some of these headlines coming out from leaders from Poland, basically saying that they understand that the situation is very different now. Europe absolutely must step up to the table in terms of expenditures. What is your take on these talks between the United States and Russia and Europe being excluded?
Well,
I'm just playing it again because it wasn't very
General
loud.
Mark Rutte. Secretary General, very good to have you with us. You have just been in the middle of these meetings. We've seen some headlines. Thank you very much. We've seen some of these headlines coming out from leaders from Poland, basically saying that they understand that the situation is very different now. Europe absolutely must step up to the table in terms of expenditures. What is your take on these talks between the United States and Russia and Europe being excluded?
Well, this meeting was really very successful. What you see today, we had General Kellogg, President Trump's special representative at NATO this morning with the ambassadors, and now we had this meeting here in Paris with many European leaders, and really Europe is now stepping up. Last week, I was a bit disappointed that Europeans were saying, hey, we also have to be at the table, and why are we not there? And they're now really starting to dialogue, to strategize how they can support the peace effort. And that is important because we know that post the peace deal, there will be the need to make that peace deal lasting, enduring. And that means we need security guarantees. And Europe can play a role there with a clear backup from the United States. So this was good. This was really a good day. We are moving forward here.
So what I'm hearing is that NATO is now okay with allowing the United States and Russia to have these negotiations. What about Ukraine?
Well, it's not saying that I am okay with that, because in the end it is, of course, the American administration engaging now in talks with Ukrainians and Russians. It is my absolute understanding that Ukraine will be an integral part of those talks, which is only logical, because this is about Ukraine. Then there was the question of, hey, where are the Europeans? And what I said to the Europeans in Munich at this famous security conference the last couple of days was, stop complaining, start acting, get your act together. And tonight was an event, an evening, a discussion to really get that done. And what I heard here is people are willing to step up to support a peace deal. Obviously, that means that we still have many details to hammer out because the whole peace process still has to start. But it is important that there is now more convergence on this, and I'm really positive.
Well, it's really interesting to see this push and shove apparently bringing European leaders together and understanding that they have to make a stronger defense commitment in their budgets. I think that's a huge development. Here's one of the statements from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as you put it, from that very famous, at this point, Munich conference. Here's something really pivotal that he said. Let's watch.
That's why our message is so stark to our European allies. Now is the time to invest, because you can't make an assumption that America's presence will last forever.
Do you see this as a very large turning point?
You know, it's crazy. It was actually, I believe it was a Polish politician that brought up Pete Hegseth in his speech, and brought up the fact that Pete Hegseth was saying that Trump wanted to end the war. And he brought that up and he said, you do realize we're in charge of handing out the Nobel Peace Prize. So you're threatening to not give the Nobel Peace Prize to a man that's trying to end a war? Yeah, it's so, they're all such weirds.
Point for Europe and the post-World War II agreement that has seen the United States spending the most money in the entire equation against Russia. Is Europe now ready to take that burden of defense, 5% per country, as President Trump has asked for?
Well, clearly what the United States signaled in Munich, but also in a meeting of defense ministers with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth being there, what the US signaled is, hey, listen, Europeans, you've got to pay more. And by the way, this was the message President Trump consistently signaled between 2017 and 2020. And we have stepped up. By now we are spending 700 billion more on the European side of NATO than before President Trump came into office. It is absolutely still not enough. We have to do much, much more. But the good thing is now that we have a process in place by which we can exactly determine what the gaps are in terms of long-range missiles, in terms of our armies, in terms of our logistics, in terms of our military mobility, in terms of our air defense. And it will require a lot more money than we spent so far. We will come to the conclusions towards summer on this, but I can hear now from our European colleagues that they're willing to step up, also when it comes now to Ukraine, helping with the peace deal, but also when it comes to spending more on defense, because it is fair. Not only because President Trump wants this, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, but also because we have to defend ourselves. And going forward, we cannot if we do not spend more here in Europe, and the effect is that we will be more in balance with the US.
So I think that will be very welcome to the White House, the administration.
I know. The problem is a lot of these people, they don't want the wars to end. They never ever want these wars to end. They want them to be ongoing because that's their money train, is to keep these wars going.
Sometimes
and it's so
approach.
telling that the man
to see the possibilities all around you.
It's so telling that the man who's like, oh, we also vote for who's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize is waving that around about the man who was just talking about wanting to end the war. And if you look back on Trump,
US business
this has always been his MO, is ending wars. He's always been the man of peace and always been the man of ending wars. He's a man of strength, but also a man of ending these things. I know. Don't worry about the trolls, you guys. So what happens when you do lives on... So I'm doing a live on my phone directly from the YouTube app. When you do them from the YouTube app, it's cool because they'll promote your lives out to new people. So it'll promote your channel to new people, but you will also get promoted to a lot of trolls. So with the good comes the ugly always. So yeah, when I do lives this way, you're gonna see a lot of trolls. Hi Tennessee, what part of Tennessee are you in? We did see that Tennessee got hit a lot recently. Thank you, Glenn, for hiding some of the trolls. But we will get a lot of trolls, you all. I'm so sorry about that. But it's with the good comes the bad a lot of the time. There are trolls everywhere. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If you don't have trolls, you're probably doing something wrong. You know? All right, hold on. I'm going back to NATO. Let's see what's going on with NATO. Okay, this was what I was trying... Okay, I'm going back to this video, you all. This is what I was trying to watch, and then I accidentally... Wait, is this it?
In a week of posting, I had over $25,000 in sales.
I don't have $1 million to put towards marketing and branding. TikTok was the way, and it saved my company.
We had a video do really good this week.
NATO ain't NATO. Yeah, I agree.
About 80% of my business right now is from TikTok.
Small businesses thrive on TikTok.
TikTok brings in so much foot traffic.
I need TikTok to keep growing. We have so much more work to do.
Okay, we get it. You're a commercial.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Secretary large turning point.
Clearly, what the United States signaled.
Okay, I just went to about where we left off. I just... Okay, I think that was me. Okay.
Hi, I'm Katie Spatanko, and thank you for having me here today. I was the
What? Oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm sneezing so much all of a sudden. All right, here we go. Here's where we left off.
Have stepped up. By now,
NATO.
we're spending $700
This is what people wanted to know.
Side of NATO than before President Trump came into
Okay,
office.
good.
It is absolutely still not enough. We have to do much, much more. But the good thing is now that we have a process in place by which we can exactly determine what the gaps are in terms of long-range missiles, in terms of our armies, in terms of our logistics, in terms of our military mobility, in terms of our air defense. And it will require a lot more money than we spent so far. We will come to the conclusions towards summer on this, but I can hear now from our European colleagues that they're willing to step up, also when it comes now to Ukraine, helping with the peace deal, but also when it comes to spending more on defense, because it is fair. Not only because President Trump funds this, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, but also because we have to defend ourselves. And going forward, we cannot if we do not spend more here in Europe, and the effect is that we will be more in balance with the US.
So I think that will be very welcome to the White House, the administration, and the importance of stepping up to defend Europe, especially against Russia. I want to ask you, though, what you think Putin, how he will interpret all of this, because there are a lot of there's a lot of reporting in the United States that this could be seen as giving Russia an advantage in these talks, that they would still be able to keep Crimea and Donbass, the regions that they took over the last 10 years.
Well, Martha, as you know, the talks have to start. I have great trust in the American team conducting those talks. Ukraine will be part of those talks, no doubt. Europe wants to have a place at the table. Well, I told them, fight yourself away to the table by coming up with concrete proposals. That is now happening. But to your point, President Putin has to realize that at this moment, NATO is able to defend itself. If he would try to capture 1 square mile of Estonia or Poland or whatever territory in NATO, the reaction will be devastating. My problem is that in 3-5 years, given his huge defense spending, given his huge defense industrial base, that we would not be able anymore to defend ourselves. And that is why we have to spend more. But this is also why on Ukraine we have to get to a deal which is strong. China is watching, others are watching, but it has to be strong and lasting and enduring so that we make sure that he will also, when it comes to Ukraine, never try again.
I mean, it's clear that President Trump believes that Europe has to defend Europe when it comes to Russia in particular, and that the United States has to turn its attention to China and to the larger threats that are out there in order to secure really all of Western civilization. Is NATO willing to take on the peacekeeping mission, including NATO boots on the ground, for Ukraine when this negotiation hopefully is settled and the war is over?
Well, one NATO is for over 50% US. And the other 31 NATO countries, the combined economy is a little bit under 50% compared to the US. So the US is by far the most important ally within NATO. But the US is absolutely right that it is only fair that on the European side of NATO, we ramp up spending because we need to do it for our own defense, but also because it is fair to get this balance with what the US is spending on defense. But that doesn't mean that the US is abandoning Europe. No, we have to work together to make sure that we keep the whole of NATO territory safe. But clearly we have to step up on this part. And when it comes to the other theaters, the other areas in the world where the US has to concentrate its attention on, obviously China, and of course the Middle East, it's only fair that they ask the Europeans to do more so that they can be able to make sure that they can have their attention concentrating on all these areas, including Europe. So I really understand that, but it doesn't mean that they are leaving Europe or whatever.
Well, it's fascinating that this discussion about Europe taking the reins appears to be galvanizing the countries of NATO to defend Europe, which is clearly what President Trump has pushed for and Secretary of Defense Hegseth is pushing for. Obviously, we'll see if they actually step up and that turns into that 5% commitment. I know you've said it could be north of 3%, and we'll see where those numbers end up. Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, is speaking out now about these meetings. He says it is clear the United States will not leave NATO, but Europeans will have to step up. Did you get that same assurance from General Kellogg and other American leaders, Pete Hegseth, President Trump, that the United States will not leave NATO?
Absolutely. There is a total commitment to NATO. Because what the Americans are telling me, NATO is also in their interest. The fact that the US, with 31 other allies, is working together makes it possible for the US to project its power, which, but it was on itself already very strong. But the projection of the power is much more effective when you do it with the 32. When it comes to Russia, but also, of course, when it comes to dealing with the situation in the Indo-Pacific. Not that NATO is active there, we are active in the Northern Atlantic region. But obviously, we can support each other, we can dialogue with each other, we can make sure that we share those strategic interests. So there is a total commitment to NATO from everybody I speak with in the American administration. But also this clear understanding, this clear, let's say, expectation that indeed, as we discussed here in our talk now, that we ramp up spending here. And by the way, collectively, both the US and Europe, we have to produce more. We are not producing enough defense industrial products. We are lacking behind Russia really massively at the moment. and China, and that is a big problem.
With regard to this criticism that we hear here at home as well, that this deal is appeasement to Putin, do you agree with that? What's your reaction to that criticism that is in some corners?
I absolutely reject that. What the American president is doing, he wants to bring this war to an end. He has taken initiatives to do that. That whole process is now starting. The Europeans were a bit rattled when that started and started to complain that they were not involved. They are now stepping up. They're getting their act together, wanting to participate. Obviously, we will have many details to be hammered out, including if the US does not have boots on the ground, what will the security guarantees look like, the enablers look like, etc. So many things to be discussed, but in an optimistic atmosphere where Europe wants to speed up and wants to really get engaged. But I absolutely reject that criticism of President Trump's initiative. I think it's only right that he tries to end this war, and we need American leadership here.
So if there are no U.S. boots on the ground, can NATO, can Europe protect security for Ukraine without any U.S. boots on the ground?
Yes, but what the European countries are saying, and I think they are right here, from a strategic point of view, that it is crucial that there is a backup and sometimes enablers. And this is what and these are details. I mean, we can hammer this out. But it's clear that the US has said no boots on the ground. So that means that we have to work from that position, and that we have to make sure that we still can do this. But it still means to have a credible deterrence and to make sure that Russia will never try this again. That there is at least a backup from the Americans. And that's what we are discussing now together with General Kellogg and the American administration. Again, General Kellogg being today at NATO headquarters and traveling onwards now to other European countries and Ukraine.
All right, we're going to have a lot more.
All right, Ukraine. Okay, someone wanted to know about Sheryl Crow. Sheryl Crow sold her Tesla. Hold on. Okay, so Sheryl Crow sold her Tesla to protest Elon Musk going after Doge. I hope the Ukraine war, it makes her happy, but it makes you happy, then it can't be that bad. Okay. She donated her money to some organization. Here's the thing about Doge, though. So did cut off funding. They also said we're not cutting off funding from anything essential. So what the lefty Looney Tunes tried to do was they tried to fearmonger everyone, and they tried to say like, oh my gosh, they cut off funding to starving kids. No, if this was something essential, if it was something that was giving like needs to people, as far as that, they were not cutting that off. They're cutting off the DEI opera in Serbia, and the $50 million worth of condoms to God. That's the type of stuff they're cutting off. And that's a lot of the stuff that our money has been going to, unfortunately. If it was actually going to feeding children, it wouldn't be this crazy. Alright, sorry, we're gonna be old school, sorry. Here we go. So Cheryl Crow just did the ultimate virtue signal. She's like the virtue signal queen now. She has earned her title as virtue signal queen for donating her or for getting her Tesla taken away. Good for her. Happy Friday. It's not Friday. What? Today's Monday, you weirdos. Who said it was Friday? I actually did almost think it was Friday for a second. All right, you all. Well, I am going to log off for the night. Thank you so much for joining the live stream for the little bit of time. Strong enough to be, because I'm strong enough. I would play that, but I'll get copyrighted, so I can't do that. Aloha. All right. All right. Thank you so much for everyone that joined this evening. I'll see you all later. Have a great night. Have a happy President's Day. Don't get into too much trouble. All right. Bye. See you all.